Hello, you. It's me. And forgive me if my voice is a little scratchy today. I might be coming down with something. I don't know. Anyway, I wanted to talk about Gypsy's live that she did last night. Her celebration for getting off parole. Good for her. It was ridiculous. There was nothing of substance in it. It was about as interesting as Gypsy's interview with Tori Spelling. It was pretty dumb. Honestly, they could have easily been a bunch of teenagers. They just, the whole. I'll give you a rundown of what it was. They got on. Gypsy smiling, laughing, everybody's laughing. Oh, and we showed those haters, is what Bree was saying. Apparently somebody had put up a bunch of signs with Gypsy's face on it, with different characters that she's portrayed, like Demona. And, putting up warnings, watch out for this person. She murdered her mother, things like that. I don't know specifically on that because I really didn't see a lot. And I couldn't read what was written on them. I could just see Gypsy's picture. So I have to rely on what other people said they said. But I honestly, I thought that was mildly amusing. I would have thought Gypsy would have found that mildly amusing either because it didn't harm her or anything. I mean, I think it bruised her ego slightly, but because that was so 10 years ago, you guys. Why are you so upset? Anyway, they showed themselves ripping it down and then going to some bar and drinking, laughing hysterically, if you ask me, forcibly. They forced themselves to laugh and giggle and all that till the alcohol kicked in, I guess. I don't know. It was just a bunch of rah. Oh, the haters. Well, we got back at the haters, didn't we? Fuck you, haters. That was like half of it. And then the other half is, Gypsy, Gypsy, what are you drinking? What are you drinking? And her ignoring everybody and laughing. Ah, ha, 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 ha. And then, of course, here at the end, she flips everybody off and says, suck it, or something like that. That was pretty much the whole mind-numbing live. It was so stupid. I'm like, it's funny because I'm watching this and thinking, am I jealous? Am I jealous because Gypsy has a bunch of friends with her in a bar that looks dead, and then a bunch of friends online all celebrating her release while she's giggling and getting tipsy Gypsy. And I was just like, no. This would have been me maybe, sadly, at like 15. Ooh, look we got alcohol. Ooh, we're going to party and giggle and laugh and have a good... Although I will say, with my friends, we genuinely had a good time and we're laughing and having fun and making fun of each other and whatever. I had one friend who would drink one beer and vomit 6. It's the most amazing magic trick I've ever seen in my life. Never seen a person do that since. It was it was something to behold. Absolutely. Anyway, getting back to Tipsy Gypsy. It was a big nothing burger. And it got me to thinking, like, what would I have done in that situation? I can't fathom being in that situation to begin with. But if I only went to prison for 8.5 years, got out, dumped my husband, got with another guy, had a baby, the whole 9, I would think because of all the FOIAs coming out, all the information and evidence that has come out about my case, what I would have done is invite friends to my home that I now live with my boyfriend and child, and just have a nice, quiet party. You know, you can drink, you can giggle, you can laugh, but Gypsy has to do everything in front of a camera to prove to everybody she's living her best life. You best believe. And it's just like, really? What is it? But I understand. It is, in my opinion, my thoughts, not facts. It is part of her mental disorder that she must show everything and prove to everyone, look at how good she is, look at how great her surroundings are, look at how great her life is, you couldn't do any better, you're jealous. And I'm not. Again, it just looked like a bunch of teenagers partying it up on the weekend. You know, woohoo! Who cares? And I'm going to start questioning every single time I see this. Where's the baby? Where's Aurora? Now, of course, Ken was not with her, so probably with Ken. Although, according to Gypsy's own words, Ken has only been with Aurora once by himself. So, who's been watching the baby all these times when they do go on trips together and they're planning another trip? Who's going to watch the baby? You know, apparently she's going on a whole family trip. And so Aurora's going to be passed around and she'll be happy because she loves everyone. Because every baby just loves to be passed from one person to the next. That makes so much sense. But yeah, from now on, it's going to be, where's the baby? Where's the baby? Because we heard that was something that I wanted to bring up. I don't think I had yet. The tour of the bedroom. Oh, maybe I did. But why the heck do you hear Aurora the baby crying in the background and Gypsy just keeps doing her tour? Wouldn't it make more sense to pause or just to stop it, make sure the baby's okay, and then do it again? There's been plenty of times where I have done a video once, twice. One time I did a video 4 times because I kept getting so much loud interference from outside because they were doing some construction. And it just got frustrating. So I did it 3 times, waited until later in the evening, and then did it the 4th time, which stuck. Because it was just so loud and obnoxious. And, you know, most of my video is just me talking. And if I'm getting constantly interrupted, I can't imagine that'd be fun for you. It wasn't fun for me. So I just waited and then did it later. She could have waited. She could have done it later. She could have at least checked on the baby to make sure that the baby was okay. But the focus in her videos is really never the baby. She'll talk about the baby like a prop, but she doesn't talk about the baby like it's her child, ever. It's so irritating. I mean, children are not props. You're supposed to be giving your all to the child to make sure that child grows up and becomes a good person and a contributor to society. I mean, that's what a parent is supposed to do. She's not being a parent. And this party, you know. Oh, by the way, she also said, this is boring. There's no one here. Which makes me think that she'll probably go out tonight or tomorrow because it's a weekend. I wonder what she'll do. I'm sure she'll post it because everybody has to see she's living her best life. Or living her best life. It amazes me that there's somebody out there whose voice is even higher than mine. Although when Gypsy is talking seriously, you notice that even though her voice is still high, it goes down like almost an octave. And I'm sure you've noticed that. I've noticed that. I also wanted to talk briefly about the FOIAs that supposedly came out, the new ones. that came out through people claiming to be Nick's supporters and trying to help him through some kind of case. And I don't know if any of that is true or not, because they're pretty sketchy. But yeah, I there wasn't really a whole lot there. Mostly it's just confirmation stuff that she had a freaky deaky side with Dan long before Nick. We already knew that. I guess it's nice to get that confirmation. But honestly, I thought we had that confirmation already. So there wasn't really much there. I did find it interesting that there were some people who commented on Dee Dee's character. Some may have said that she was a liar and lied constantly, which, Gypsy said she learned it from her mother. I think it's just a personality trait that they both had. If that's true, I don't know. I always thought Dee Dee had a hand in something, but I still think because of Gypsy's microdeletion, her brain doesn't function normal, in my opinion. My thoughts, not facts. But in a way it is facts, because most people with a normal thinking brain wouldn't murder their mom, the only person that cared about them and took care of them and made sure that they thrived when they were not thriving. But, what can you say? The biggest thing to come out, if it is true, and that's the problem. I think a lot of creators have trouble. They know things are happening, but they can't always prove them. Alice Down the Rabbit Hole did a great video saying that Nick has filed for... Okay, I'm not great at this law stuff and names and things. I try. But he filed some kind of thing in federal court, not in Missouri or Louisiana, which seems to be incredibly corrupted. It's in a federal court with a federal judge deciding if they are willing to reopen the case and give him a fair chance, a fair trial. And I think that would be wonderful to me. That's a glimmer of hope. If it happens or not, we don't know. But if there's a federal judge who is looking at this case completely not biased, I hope, maybe something really can be done. If nothing else, give Nick the trial that he deserves and give him the time that he deserves, because I don't think he deserves life. 35 years might be fair. From all the things that I've seen and all the things that I've read, because of his mental difficulties, he struggles to understand things. And I think that a lot of the stuff that he said was planted in his mind from Gypsy. This is my opinion, not facts. Or at least not facts yet. So I think some of the things that he said, maybe he understands differently than what other people understand of him. And I think somebody who is an expert in autism would be able to better relay that and be better to relay the message that he's actually trying to say. Because we know that he did not have a happy childhood. And he could have some built up anger inside of him. But I don't think it would have ever come out the way that Gypsy forced it to come out. And I do say forced because coercion is, in a sense, forcing someone, somebody who is disabled mentally, will not be able to piece everything together and understand everything. So they do a lot of mimicking. And I wouldn't be surprised if some of that was him mimicking what Gypsy told him in order to try to explain it to someone else, because he may not have the words to explain it. And that's what I think an expert could identify and say, when he said these things, these were words Gypsy used that he mimicked because he thought that would explain what he was feeling or thinking. And I hope that an expert is allowed to go in there and really talk with him, not just once or twice, but really talk with him, learn about his tics, I guess you could say. I don't know him personally. I've only listened to him speak. And I heard a lot of leading him into this, leading him into that. And since he is easily led, he would easily say just about anything. You know, somebody who can actually let him speak for himself and explain things would be fantastic. So seeing that possibility that a federal court judge may be looking into this and may reopen things would be wonderful. Which is why I don't understand why Gypsy isn't hiding away. She should. Because if they open the case, her case could be open too on a federal level. And premeditated murder, first-degree murder, is something she has not yet gone to prison for. So she could. And she just doesn't care. She's not that bright. She's good at manipulating people, but she's not that bright. And she lies constantly. The thing that she said about her mother on the podcast with Tori Spelling about, oh, well, I grew up with a mom who always saw shadows and things around the corner. I'm like, since when? I would think that would be the first thing you talk about when you got arrested. Is it that you just didn't think it up yet? I don't believe that was true. I don't believe that. I'm not saying Dee Dee didn't have her own issues and problems, because she did commit fraud. She also protected Gypsy way more than she should have, but I understand it was her child. She did everything she could to give Gypsy everything. And you notice it was to give Gypsy everything, not to take away, to give to her. And was it for attention for herself? No, I think it was attention for Gypsy. She wanted to give Gypsy everything. And I don't care how you twist it. It was never about Dee Dee. It was about Gypsy. And that's part of Gypsy's problem. Everything has to be about her. Now, did Dee Dee make a mistake in doing that? Yeah, I think she did. I think she made the focus only on Gypsy, and so Gypsy felt entitled. It fed into Gypsy's already developing delusions about herself, in my opinion. My thoughts, not facts. So Dee Dee made that error, but she did it out of love. And everything that Gypsy does is out of love for herself. I've never once seen Gypsy love anybody. She doesn't treat her child well, in my opinion. She's very thoughtless about her. And she goes and does whatever she wants without any thoughts to the child, except, oh, well, we'll get a babysitter. Oh, well, Christy will watch her. Oh, well, your mom Rena will watch her. The child is an afterthought always. Ken, she's obsessed with, but not in love with, in my opinion. And it's just getting worse and worse. She always has to live in triangles. She did that with Dan and Nick. And now she's done it with Ryan and Ken. And eventually, something will happen. Either Ken will leave her, or she'll find someone else that she's more obsessed with. And then Ken and Ryan are going to be thrown to the wayside. And they're not going to know what hit them. Hopefully she doesn't do anything to set it up so they're accused of something bad that they have to go to prison for. We'll hope for that at least. But I could see her setting Ken up to go to prison, or Ryan for stalking to go to prison, even though she's the one who encourages it all the time, apparently as recent as a month ago. So, I mean, again, we're just going to have to watch and see what happens. Excuse me. But she definitely runs the same patterns. So I guess it'll be interesting to see who else gets caught up in it. But I feel sorry for like Bree. Bree is very defensive. Bree has had a difficult life. And as much as she acts badly and she does bully, I do see to some degree that she feels like she's defending herself by bullying other people the way they have bullied her. I do see that, and I do understand that. But there are better ways to do that. And I hope that she will at some point realize that, grow, and change, and do better, or find better ways of handling those situations. I honestly kind of feel bad for Bree. I shouldn't. Considering how much her and the other minions have really just hurt a lot of people, trying so desperately to destroy their lives. That's not what you do when somebody is making fun of you. You don't turn around and try to destroy their lives. You try to better yourself and, tell them to fuck off. That's fine. I get you. Or if you want to make fun of them to some degree, oh, well, you're ugly. Oh, well, you have stupid hair. Whatever. Like, I can kind of understand that, but attacking them, doxing them, all that kind of stuff, harassing them, you can go to jail. You can go to prison for that. And I don't want to see Bree in prison. I don't think she needs that. She needs a little bit of tender loving care, in my opinion. She's a rough, tough girl, but deep inside, I think she's just very hurt and is desperate to find people to care about her. And Gypsy plays that part really well. The problem is it's just a part. And Gypsy will dump Bree and every one of those ladies in a heartbeat if she thinks it's better for herself. She doesn't care. She doesn't care about Bree. And I think Bree is going to have a huge heartache at the end of it. And I feel bad for her. I probably shouldn't, like I said. But if you look into people's actions and you look deeper into them and you look for the meanings behind them, that's when you start to sympathize. Because we've all been hurt. And she's been hurt very badly, I think. And she's just damaged. And Gypsy feeds into that. Every person that Gypsy brings into her life, aside from her family, are people that have been hurt that she can take advantage of. That's what makes her so dangerous. But we're just going to have to wait and see. We'll wait and see what happens. But Gypsy loves to be out in the spotlight and loves to show off. So it's not going to be very long before she's probably back in prison. I'm going to say 6 months. And I want to say that for 2 reasons. One, because I want Gypsy to prove me wrong and not end up in prison in 6 months, because that means she hasn't harmed anybody enough to end up in prison. And 2, the way that she's going, she's accelerating further and further, faster and faster, acting worse and worse. And, it could be as soon as 2 months at this point, but I'm going to say 6. I'm going to say 6. I'm going to hold it there. And if she proves me wrong, that's fantastic. Because I don't want this, in my opinion, antisocial person to harm anyone else. She's already harmed her mother to the point where her mother's no longer alive. She's harmed Nick to the point where he may never have freedom again. He's harmed Nick's mother, Stephanie, who also has ended her life because of the inability to handle what was happening. And who knows? I mean, she certainly didn't do much for Ryan either. And although I'm not a fan of Ryan, I'm not a fan of Ken at all. But I think both of them have had major tragedies or major, what's the word I'm looking for, betrayals that have harmed them greatly. And that's why Gypsy picked them, because they're vulnerable. She likes vulnerable people. And they should get her evaluated. I wonder if they could just do that. Maybe Christy could put her in a 5150 for 72 hours to get her evaluated. Although people like Gypsy, in my opinion, going off of the antisocial behavior, are very good at lying and deceiving. She can look very convincing. She can give the crocodile tears. And who knows, maybe Gypsy would turn on Christy and say, oh, she's being abusive. She's so abusive. I mean, it's possible. She'll turn on a dime for anybody. Claiming that her mother made fun of her nose. When was that ever a topic? Never. Calling her thunder thighs when she weighed like 84 pounds. I mean, come on. Everything she says is just nuts, and it just piles on and piles on. Oh, and one other thing that I read, that I found out about watching Alice Down the Rabbit Hole. Gypsy had sent a text to Nick on I guess it was the 9th, or very late in the 9th, very early on the 10th, that her mother had taken all her sleeping pills and she's asleep on the bed. Except that the autopsy showed that she had no sleeping pills in her. And just another indicator, in my opinion, that Gypsy offed her mom, or nearly offed her mom, before Nick got there, because she didn't really move. He said she moved her arm maybe, so maybe she was already bleeding out and almost passed on when he got there. Although I don't believe she moved. I think that Gypsy told Nick, oh, look, her arm moved. Make sure to get her, something like that, so that he would do the deed thinking that she was still alive. I don't think she was. I think she said that intentionally so that he would think that, she's just, asleep. I don't think she was asleep. So I thought that was very interesting. Anyway, I know this was kind of a jumbled mess of a video. I'm sorry. I don't feel great. I'm just trying to take out points that I remember that I wanted to mention. But yeah, she's free now. She's doing her stupid thing. I'm sorry. That whole stream was just dumb. And she's not very bright, so she'll end up in prison soon. So my guess is 6 months. You tell me, how long do you think it'll be before she ends up back in prison? Tell me down in the comments, because I'm curious to know what you guys think. And if you did watch that painstakingly boring video of her going live at a stupid bar, tell me, did you get anything out of that? Because once again, like the Christy video, the Christy live, I really didn't get much of anything out of it, except that she's an idiot. And in my opinion, it was just dumb. Dumb, like teenagers doing dumb things, except that they're all in their 30s and 40s and beyond. Anyway, let me know what you think. Thank you for listening. And that's all I got to say.